Professor Live.
Harden has scored 17 of his 32. Working on Shark, step back in the corner, off balance two to beat the buzzer. Harden crosses over, steps back, fires it up.
Harden just doing his thing.
What's up, everybody? Professor Live. We're back again, more tutorials. Today we're going to do the James Harden step back. Now, there's a lot of buzz around James Harden's step back. Some people say it's a blatant travel. Some people say no, it's the new school, it's legal. Some people, there's a couple highlights floating around where he kind of like does a double step back, and that was a little questionable. Sometimes he goes to the side, and that's different. And so I decided to do a little research on my own. I watched every James Harden step back from the 2016 season all the way up to this current 2018 season. And basically what I got from it was that James Harden has excellent step back footwork. You know, 80-90% of the time, he was doing a traditional step back, and there was nothing illegal about it. It was boom, into the step back, we're pulling up. Okay, but I think from my own research, I discovered why there's so much buzz around it and why some people question it so much. And the first aspect is because he covers a lot of ground, right? He's pretty big, okay? So sometimes a step back looks dramatic, he's covering tons of ground. The second aspect was he does a lot of new school forms of the step back that are legal today that weren't legal 10 years ago. Like when I was playing in high school, if I would have done some of the side steps that James Harden was doing and some of the crossover, then go into the step back and these long dragging step backs, they would have been illegal. But today the game changes, okay? The rules of the game always fluctuate. The rule book changes little things each year. The lenience of the refs, you know, mass thought on different moves changes. So it's always fluctuating. You know what I mean? You can't just say something's blatantly illegal. It's like, well, which area are you talking about? Because they all actually had different rules. So I would say those are a few aspects. I would say the other aspect that's weighing in, there was one James Harden step back that was kind of like viral or whatever. I saw a few different people posting. It was kind of like a double step back. And I think what happened with that one is that he may have traveled a little bit, even according to the new school rules, but it was just a miscall. The ref didn't see it, you know? At the end of the day, when you're trying to call an NBA game, if somebody, you know, does some quick footwork that looks a little funny, but it kind of looked like a regular step back or a regular move, they're not going to be quick to call it because it's hard to keep up. So there's going to be some miscalls, you know what I mean? So I feel like a couple of James Harden step backs may have been travels, but they were like the ref missed it or he didn't call it because James Harden normally is so good at it. It's like some things are going to fall beneath the cracks. So that's just my personal opinion. So let's get into the James Harden step back footwork, but let's break down the different variations of it. All right, so we want to first start out by breaking down the basic traditional, even old school style of step back footwork, okay? So if I was going to do a step back, like when I was in high school, or my dad, the way it was taught to me from his era, would just be to, number one, you want to explode the basket or pick a side that you're going to attack, okay? So I attack the defender here. I want to make sure that I'm going to the side a little bit, but still look as if I'm trying to attack the basket, or you genuinely try to attack the basket. You don't even need to preconceive a step back, right? So if I dart, okay, I could either, be equal with him. He may have cut it off blatantly. Regardless, you would continue the basket if he was behind you, right? But the step back is used when you didn't already beat the opponents, when you don't quite have them beat, okay? So when you get a step or two or a few in here, you want to plant the foot closest to the defender. So if I decided to go left, okay, and I was going to beat my opponent, boom, we're darting left. The foot that I would be planting on would be the foot closest to the defender, which would be my right foot, okay? And I would come to a point here. My dribble would almost be synonymous with my footwork. Boom, okay? We'd be planting here, planting, and stepping back, okay? And trying to cover as much ground as we possibly can on the step back, okay? So if I was here, I usually hit my opponent with a move to begin with, okay? In and out, all right, we're attacking. We hit it with a step back, boom, plant, push back, but we have to go right into our jump shot, you know, for a long sort of like hop jump stop, okay? Now the loophole here is that the rulebook never covered ever really was like how much ground you can actually cover out of a step back. So technically it's never been illegal on a step back to drive, plant, and boom, we're going way back, right? Now I would assume that 10 or 20 years ago, if you would have hopped super duper far like that, a ref might have called it a travel just based off it looking funny. But if you read the rulebook, there was never any rule that said how much distance we can actually hop back here, okay? And that's why I believe it got more lenient as time went on, okay? So now, fast forward to James Harden's footwork on a step back. He covers a lot of ground. He does that a lot. That's very traditional. That's number one, okay? The second way he steps back that some people don't like is pretty much just out of like a flat attack the dribble stance. So like he'll be dribbling against the opponent. We're here, right? He'll be doing whatever, crossing over, looking to get to the basket, and next thing you know, boom, we're back, and he pulls up. And it looks a little weird because you're used to the step back being traditional, right? Attack, dribble, go. Okay, whereas he's doing it more like he could just be here, boom, why not? Because technically, again, in the rule book, it didn't say that to do a step back, you had to be attacking. It never said that. It just said like you plant and you can push back, okay, straight into the jump shot. So he used it from an attack mode, okay? So that's what the attack mode style. So you've got the traditional style, you got the attack mode style where you just sort of go into it, okay? The third style that I saw he used, and I actually really like it a lot, it's legal today, never was when I was growing up, I wish it was the sidestep. Okay, so if you're coming up against your opponent, okay, it's that same footwork, you're dribbling here, but you take a hard dribble and plant, boom, let's go to the side. Let's try to get room to shoot, okay? And it's great too. I mean, players today don't even realize the advantage they're at with this footwork, right? I mean, because at the end of the day, if you don't have your shot before and you couldn't get it by maneuvering, before if you didn't have your shot and you couldn't get it by maneuvering, you pretty much just had to pass the ball. But now, I mean, you shouldn't be able to be stopped. You can always just go, boom, take a hop, look, boom, let's go back, okay? There's so many different ways you can step back, okay? Now, the last style that I think caused the most buzz for James Harden was the sort of like double step back that people talk about. Even Brandon Armstrong, B-Dot, he did an impersonation of James Harden where he was joking around how he kept stepping back over and over and kind of made a mockery of it. And I think that the one clip that started this that I found was one that kind of like went viral where James Harden did a move, right? He did like an in and out. He came and dribble, right? He kind of like picked up his dribble, okay? But he was kind of still in attack mode, and then he took another step back. So it was almost like a boom, boom, boom. And they pulled up and he made it. And it almost looked like he did two step backs in a row. I think James Harden, I think his thinking on it was, well, I in and out, I genuinely attacked, okay? But I stood up and I was still in the attack mode, so now let's step back. So I think he would have called it probably one step back, but it just looked a little funny. And like I said earlier, when you're in the heat of an NBA game, it's hard to call that stuff. It's hard to stay up, to stay on top of all the little idiosyncrasies of the game. You know what I mean? There's a lot of detail that's hard to keep up footwork-wise. So anyway, to sum it up, those are some of the different James Harden step backs. You know, you've got the traditional, you've got the plant come back, you've got the side step, you've got the one that was kind of like the double step back. Here are some examples. Check it out.
More again. He steps back, fires, hits.
Hawks with 32 paint points. Harden will step back with him.
Gives it up, goes back to the pier, pulls up for the jumper.
Thank you guys for tuning into this tutorial. Make sure to like and subscribe, and be sure to leave a comment and tell me what other NBA moves or NBA player signature moves that I should break down next. All right, God bless.